So I was meeting with a company, going to do my first consulting retainer contract for 18 months period. I'm in their office, and I suggested this much a month, an override, and profit sharing based on what, not profit sharing, but based on sales, I might increase bonuses, all of that. And I said, there's a $5,000 initiation fee to begin the contract. And they wrote me a check, and then the contract followed a couple of days later. And I remember going home feeling so rich. And I just kind of walked in the house and I took that $5,000 check and I threw it on the table and said, check this out. And of course, the only one there was my cat, so he wasn't actually that impressed. But I was impressed. I was impressed at how wealthy I felt at that moment. Fast forward 15, 20 years later. I don't know if I ever told the story on these live streams, how I made $500,000 in 20 minutes. But if I don't have time for it today. I don't know if I told it on one of the earlier ones, but if not, we'll tell it on one of them. But so I made $500,000 in 20 minutes. And let me tell you, I felt very rich at that moment when that happened. But here's what I want you to know. That first contract, that first check for $5,000, the first time I made $10,000 in a month, the first time I made $100,000 in a month, that time I made $500,000 in 20 minutes, none of those situations did I feel as rich as the moment I became debt-free. When I paid off my last credit card payment, mortgage done, car payment done, last credit card payment, that was the wealthiest I have ever felt in my life. And that's the topic we're going to explore today, how you become debt-free. Good morning from Miami. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever else you might be in the world. Let me begin with a blessing, if I may. I send forth this prosperity offering, knowing that it blesses and multiplies all who are open to receive it. All right, let me just check in, get on the chat, say hi, let me know who you are, where you're watching from. See, Jedi Jonak is in the house. Where's my participant list here again? Good to see you here. Jedi Feinstein in the house. People from Peter Horrell up in Canada. Scott McAvoy, good to see you. Ron Adarli. Esther, who already sent in support for the show before we even began. Thank you. All right, good looking crowd here. I'm trying to see, do I have anyone I need to make the co-host here? I don't see our other guys, so I'll keep an eye out for them. All right, so let's jump into this. If you're joining us for the first time, this is the Prosperity Unchurch. It's just a thought experiment I've been doing, conducting a service each week on the principles of prosperity, generosity, circulation, and free enterprise. So last week, the lesson was 10 truths for getting rich. And before we jump into this week's lesson, I want to know if there's any volunteers who want to talk about their assignment last week. Because I think this lesson last week, 10 truths about wealth, money, prosperity, becoming wealthy, was probably the most important live stream I've ever done. And I just think there's so many breakthroughs there for people. If you weren't here last week and you didn't watch the replay, check them out. The Power Prosperity podcast has the audio. It's on all the podcast platforms, and Prosperity TV is my YouTube channel. And the assignment I gave you was, which of those 10 truths did you reject? Because we all work through filters. I try so hard to be objective, so hard to develop the self-awareness to go up to 35,000 feet and be able to look at my thought process objectively. But it's very, very difficult for anybody and everybody, myself included. And when we are presented with information like that, because some of those were kind of get in your face, hey, you better change this belief because you have a belief that's not serving you. And I said the homework was that you would reject at least a couple of them. You'd say, well, no, that okay, I get those other 8, but those 2 don't really apply to me, because Randy doesn't understand. I'm trying to get the chat open up here. Doesn't he know I'm discriminated against this, or I was born with this situation or that situation? Okay, I see Jose Lopez in the house, your co-host. I don't see Jorge yet. Anybody want to volunteer and share any thought on the assignment you did last week? Just put your hand up or put up that thing in the group. All right, nobody wants to be brave. All right, so I'm going to jump in the lesson. First, let's talk. So we're looking at how do you become debt-free? And the first area we got to look at is the mindset shift that you have got to make. Most people have lived in debt their entire life. And by the way, I should have said, when the richest I ever felt was when I got out of debt. And I just think, and I'm looking at it now and I say, wow, with, the pandemic happened, I lost $800,000 worth of business in 10 days. I lost $1 million within a couple of weeks. I support other families, other people in my family. And I look and I say, I've got debt again. I'm going to go back, I got to erase this debt. I want to get back to where I was before. And so I thought this would be a great time to revisit the topic, because this is what I'm sharing with you. This is exactly what I do myself. This is how I got out of debt. This is the plan that I'm putting into action right now. That's why I'm sharing it with you. So when I say the mindset shift that you got to make first, you have to give yourself permission to be prosperous. And some of you, that's the reason you're in debt, is because you don't believe you're worthy of being wealthy, because you've had so much programming that money is evil, rich people are nefarious people. If you're poor, that somehow makes you noble or more spiritual or a good person, because you're the little guy or the little gal fighting the forces of evil. You got to blow that shit up. Okay, you just got to eviscerate those beliefs, because those beliefs don't serve you. And so I want you to reposition the way you think about money, debt, what getting out of debt and becoming wealthy actually means to you. So you have to lose the guilt when you start to become successful. And you can get that, right? If you're like me and you were poor your early life, and then you start to become successful, and you have friends or family people who are a little resentful and they feel like you're leaving them behind, and you feel guilty about that, you can't do that. You can't allow that guilt. You can't allow them to play those rackets on you. If you want to help the poor, the destitute, the needy, the exploited, the best thing to do is not be one of them. Understand the good that you can do with money. Understand the good that you could do if you get out of debt, when you get out of debt. And think about what that life of being debt-free actually means to you. And this is where I'm a big believer. You know, we talked about one of the lessons, we talked about creating vision boards, doing affirmations, writing the film script of your perfect day, affirming things out loud, journaling. All of these things are really powerful ways to reframe that mind shift, that mindset, and make that shift that I'm asking you to do. Because here's the thing about debt. Fundamental principle. Here's one of the things I want you to reposition. Debt can empower you or it can enslave you. So when you see, wow, there's a quadruplex for sale, it's for $450,000. I could buy that with $50,000 down. I could get a mortgage for the $400,000, but I've run the numbers and I see that this would make me cash flow positive. This would actually produce income for me, much more than the cost of my debt. Then wealth is empowering you. But when you see that commercial on TV last night and they say you can get a new bedroom set and a living room set and there's no payments till 2023, that's debt that enslaves you. So understand how debt works and rethink the way it is. You should never go into debt to buy concert tickets and stereo systems and HD TVs and vacations and spa days and luxuries, and never. That's a horrific way to utilize debt. You should only be utilizing debt when it empowers you, when you're creating leverage, as we talked about last week in the show. The next part of that mental process is forgiveness. To get rid of the guilt, you're going to have to forgive everybody, and that includes yourself. Right? You got to be, oh, my ex, and we had that nasty divorce, and because of the settlement, that's why. Okay, that vengeance, that revenge, that's not going to serve you. That isn't serving anyone. You think the government took my money with that. The taxes are so high. My boss is so cheap. If you keep projecting your financial situation externally, you're projecting it on others and you're holding them responsible. That's a prosperity block, and you're never going to get out of debt until you release that block. So I say start with forgiveness. All right, you really believe someone else was responsible? I don't know that I'm buying that, but let's suppose you do. Forgive them. And then most importantly, you've got to forgive yourself. You've got to forgive yourself. We all make mistakes. We all have done things we regret. We've said things we regret. This is part of Humanity 101, how to be a human being. We make mistakes. Your job is to grow and learn from those mistakes. So forgive yourself and move forward from there. And then the other mindset, part of that shift is I want you to create the fundamental foundational belief that you must live on less than you take in. You must live on less money than you earn forever. forever, not till I get rich, till I reach $1 million. No, it doesn't matter if you're Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Oprah Winfrey, J.K. Rowling. They all have to live on less than they take in, or they become upside down and they go into debt. So you've got to understand, hey, no, this isn't a temporary thing. This is a new way of structuring my life. If you make $20,000 a year, you're going to have to figure out how to live on $18,000 a year. If you make $50,000 a year, you're going to have to figure out how to live on $45,000. If you make $200,000 a year, you're going to have to figure out how to live on $160,000. Because you've got to take some of that other money and put it to work for you. And you can't exceed the amount you take in and just figure, well, I'm on a good trajectory right now. My income's going up. So I'm just going to, hit up the credit cards, buy some things on credit, buy some things that I could wait for. And because I got instant gratification disease and I want to get them now. No, you can't do that. You've got to change your fundamental philosophy about money. Next step in the process, you have to figure out, how did you get here? Why are you in debt? Right? And then most times, this is because of bad premises and irrational thinking issues. So you got to start by recognizing you're in a lack pattern of your own doing. Stop blaming Trump. Stop blaming your ex-wife. Stop blaming the economy. Stop blaming COVID-19. You are responsible for the pattern that you've created. You are responsible for the situation you're in. And if you just said, okay, but Randy doesn't understand. In my case, it's different. Now we're in trouble because you're making it, you're going out of the way. You're going to screw yourself. You're going to, torture your results if you create that belief. That belief doesn't serve you. You are the co-creator of your life. I get bad luck happens, accidents happen, fate and chance and destiny happens. It happens to all of us. But understand, there are random events. If there's a sinkhole and it swallows up your Toyota Camry, that's a random event. There are random events, but there are no random lives. Somebody type that in the chat. There are random events. There are no random lives. Give me an amen, hallelujah, thumbs up or something if you're with me on this. Okay. Yes, there's random things, but there are no random lives. You are the co-creator of your life. Another of these irrational thinking is overspending to impress others. Please don't compare your real life with other people's Instagram life. That shit ain't real. And don't compare your lifestyle you create with your income with the lifestyle other people create with credit and debt. Because those are games you can only lose. Now, the other thing, so, is it really okay? So you max out those credit cards, you put $7,000 on them because you run that vacation to Hawaii and you're able to create 5 Instagram posts while you're in Hawaii, and they get more likes and comments than any other Instagram post you ever made. And you come back home and it's 3 weeks later and the credit card bills come due. Did any of those likes on your Instagram account enhance your life in any way? And the answer is, of course not. Stop trying to impress other people. The next thing I want you to watch for is the knee-jerk overreaction. So I lived in poverty consciousness for the first 30 years of my life. How do I get a discount? Where can I get a coupon? How can I save money on that? I can't afford that. I can't afford this. Money is, you got to scratch for money. Money so hard. And so then I started to learn how to earn money. And I became very good at earning money. And then my deal was, okay, I can never ask the price for anything. Because if I ask the price, then it's poverty consciousness, right? If I want something, I want to get it. So I like sports cars. I like a Viper, so I bought a Viper. And then they had a red model, and I said, well, I want a red model. And then they came out with a yellow model. I said, I want a yellow model. And then they had the white model with the 2 blue rally stripes. I wanted, and it was fortunate for me because, a couple of things came up. Once I was in a watch store and I said, I want that one. And it was $440,000. And I couldn't get it. My credit card, nothing, my money. I didn't have $440,000. It was a Hublot watch. So Feinstein, if you're kind of wondering what to get me for Christmas this year, it's a Hublot watch, costs $440,000. Okay. And then I was in a art gallery in the design district, and oh my God, this painting just spoke to me. And I was like, oh, I gotta have that painting. And it was $850,000, I think, if I remember. And I was, okay, no, I don't have that kind of money where I can just say, oh, it doesn't, I don't ask the price. So you want to position this so it's not, hey, I can't afford this, but hey, this wouldn't be a prudent expenditure right now. Because let me remove this. We have a porn star in the room. Okay, it's kind of interesting. That was decent video, good lighting, directorial, a little bit. So anyway, I felt like I overreacted, where I just was, okay, I can buy anything and everything I want because I've been able to increase my income so much, and I'm just going to continue on that trajectory. I will continue to earn more than I spend. And no matter how much I spend, I will just find ways to add more value to, and so looks like, at the surface anyway, it looks like a prosperous mindset, but it's really not. It's like, if you ever see an interview with Floyd Mayweather Jr., I think the boxer, and he carries around a duffel bag with like $3 million, and he has this posse of 25 people around him everywhere, and he's just throwing stacks of cash. He'll run out of money at some point, right? Because he hasn't learned, and no matter what, he was like the highest paid athlete in the world a couple of years ago, but he'll still run out of money unless he changes his mindset and realizes, no, I have to live on less than I take in. So don't overreact the other way. Sure, treat yourself, live better, make sure your lifestyle gets better as your financial situation improves, but don't overreact, which is what I did. And then, do you have unmet childhood needs? You need attention. And so you're buying things and spending money and going into debt to get attention. Or, and this would be where the boxer comes in, the inability to say no to others, or the inability to set boundaries. One of the books I've been threatening to write for a couple of years is What to Do When You Have Money. Because you just learned, wow, when you buy a really good quality suit and you send it to the average dry cleaner, they'll destroy it because they don't know how to take care of good clothes. When you buy a luxury automobile and you take it to the car wash, they're going to ruin it. There'll be scratches and all the paint because they have these dirty sponges filled with grit that they're scraping up your car because They don't know how to take care of a $250,000 car or $1 million automobile, right? You will realize, wow, I get so many invitations to bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs and confirmations and weddings and funerals. And you will get wedding invitations from the bag boy at the supermarket because they say, she's got a lot of money. We should invite her to the wedding. She's probably good for the crock pot or the toaster oven. And you don't even know them. They're this casual acquaintance that you met 4 years. You're going to have cousins Pookie and Ray are going to come out of the woodwork and, you know, be looking for money and loan. They have a great idea for a home for unwed llamas in Pakistan that they want to start up. And they have a special foundation to save the tofu burgers. And they want you to put up $2 million. And they're going to be the executive director of the foundation. And you learn, wow, I have to set boundaries. I have to learn to say no. And this means sometimes that people come to you and say, hey, I have this debt. I have this problem. I need you to give me the money. And you have to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give that to you. And they're going to say, but you can afford it. You make this much. I need this, you know, this $800 will change my life. $800 is nothing to you. You know, I've had people had to say, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you the money. I thought you were a good Christian. Why wouldn't you give me the money? It's not about that. It's, you know, I had a friend from way back and he's got behind on alimony, he's behind on child support, his car is getting repossessed, just one thing after another. And finally I had to say, okay, here, I'm writing you a check. This is your last gift from the Randy Gage Foundation. But I want you to know I'm never going to write you another check, no matter what happens. So if you call me up and you ask me for money, I'm going to hang up the phone, and you have to be okay with that. And it took 3 calls of me hanging up the phone where he realized, okay, the piggy bank has dried up. I can't get this money from Gage, right? Because I just recognize there's always a new emergency for him that's always going to come up. And you know, so you have to set boundaries. So look at all of those things. You're in a pattern of your own doing. Are you overspending to impress others? Do you have a knee-jerk overreaction, overspending the other way? Are you trying to fill out unmet childhood needs? Or do you have an inability to set boundaries? Those are the kind of things that put you in this situation of being in debt. So recognize what they are so that you can program against them. All right, let me just check the comments. Yes, a late night gig. Yes, I'm working on that. That was the moment my 7-year draw came to say hello, and she saw, okay, interesting. We need to control. Oh yeah, no, listen, the porno stars and the trolls or whatever, you know, it's all just part of the entertainment. You get that free benefit. A lot of people have to pay money to join websites like that. You get it for free here every week. All right, let's talk about the path to freedom. The path to becoming debt-free. And see, you notice how I reposition that. When I first set the topic, I was how to get out of debt. GOOD, get out of debt. That's kind of been something I work on for. And you know, I'm like, I don't like that. It's kind of a negative perception. I would rather look at the path to becoming debt-free. I want to focus on the positive result. So again, it's just kind of a mental reframe. All right, so here's what you got to go through. Number 1, take inventory. You have to get a Excel sheet, a yellow legal pad, a Google Doc, however, medium doesn't matter. I would just, a notebook will work, and write down the vendor and the amount of every debt you have. MasterCard, Citibank, you know, MSMB, whatever, Citibank, Visa, Diners Club, car balance on the mortgage, installment credit for the tires you bought, installment credit for the HD TV, every single thing, every single debt that you owe, you've got to write it down, who it's owed to and what is the amount. So now we know your starting point. And I need to warn you, some of you, this is going to be a cataclysmic, earth-shattering moment, because you have been living in denial and you have been trying not to add up all those figures in your brain, because you know the answer would be frightening, terrifying. But you got to get to that number. You got to get to the truth of where you are. And that's the way credit is. You max out a credit card, you get an offer for another one. You get that one, you get an offer for another one. You know, you bought the TV with no money down, and then there's a new stereo system, and then there's a new living room set, and you got to get real world where you are. Then step 2, you got to set a real budget for how you're going to live from here on out, of what are your expenses, and then what are your expenses plus the pay down, meaning how much can you devote every month to retiring this debt. And I get the amount may be really small percentage wise in the start, but you have to start somewhere. You have to live on less than you take in, and you have to use some of that money to pay down the debt. One of the things I want you to do is to slash your financial footprint, your ongoing monthly expenses. So I just happened, you know, in the middle of the pandemic. So I had all these, I mean, literally every speech or seminar I had booked canceled for a year and a half, right? So I realized, wow, I have a $500 internet, $500 a month internet plan for Wi-Fi on American. I have a $300 a month internet plan for Wi-Fi on Delta. I have a $1,000 a year lounge airplane, airport lounge memberships. I had thousands of dollars of monthly financial footprints that I couldn't use no matter what, because I wasn't getting on airplanes. Right. And they just, I don't like to be denied. So if there's a hot new show on Showtime, I want to see it. If it's on HBO Max, I want to see it. If it's on Disney Plus, well, they got The Mandalorian. Now I need to get Disney Plus. Oh, Mozart in the Jungle's on Amazon Prime. I need Amazon. Oh, this is on Apple. I need, right? You got to look at all that. Okay, yeah, I have my bowling league on Tuesday, and I have the badminton league on Thursday, and I do this on Saturday. You got to look at all of those things and say, okay, how do I reduce my financial footprint? Because this financial footprint has got me imprisoned. It put me into debt. So I got to know, what do I need to change about that? Step 3 is you got to do a monthly financial statement. You don't need an accounting aid firm. You don't need a bookkeeper. You just need your little yellow pad where you wrote the list of every debt you have and how much it was, and then you update it every month. Okay, and you got to look at that every month. And here's what I would say: slash that monthly financial footprint, but keep one love. Your bowling league, or your poker night, or your day spa once a month. There's something that really is important to you from a prosperity standpoint, prosperity consciousness. So don't try to live like an ascetic. Don't go from, overspending, living on credit, deeply in debt, and then try to be a Buddhist monk in a 24-hour turnaround. pick one thing that you still really cherish that you could do every month. Like if I was really, I'm not complaining. I'm so blessed. I'm in such a wonderful financial position. I've been so blessed, so I'm not worried about, am I going to be able to buy groceries tomorrow, right? But if I was, the thing I would keep would be softball. It's $50 a league fee, and the gas and the money to the park, and there's a tournament every now and then. I like to go on the tournament. So if I really had to slash everything, that would be my one love, because I say, hey, I get out in the fresh air, I exercise, I get the blood pumping, I get air in my lungs, it keeps me healthier, and it brings me so much joy, right? So I need to cut somewhere else to be able to support that fix of getting softball. So I don't know what that is for you, but you figure out what that is, and then keep that. And then plan in the holidays, budget ahead, so that when Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever birthdays roll around, you're not operating on emotional impulse buying. Factor in the tips that you need to make for the things you're buying. Factor in the presents for the birthdays and the holidays. Build that into the budget. Factor in, if you got an older car and you don't have a warranty, that, okay, there's going to be unexpected car expenses. I got an old house and the furnace may go out, the roof may leak, factor in that. So give yourself a realistic budget. And then every month, look at it. Okay, and I get if lightning strikes your tree and it falls on your roof and you don't have insurance and you take a $5,000 hit in July. Okay, so maybe you didn't make progress in July, but then in August, let's get back on track. Only if you look at it how I lost weight? I had weight I wanted to lose, and then I was reading a book on human behavior. And they said the people who lost weight, who kept it off, a study of tens of thousands of people, the ones who kept it off were people who exercised at home. They didn't have to go to a gym, or the gym was like me. I'm in a condo and I have a gym there. So I was like, okay, I never will buy a condo that doesn't have a gym in it, And the second thing was they have a scale in their house and they weigh themselves every day. And I'm like, okay, so it's the same. If you have the monthly financial statement and you have to do it every month, and you do it every month, you will see that you will get out of debt. Number 4 is kind of a fun one. Start prosperity circulation. Just give someone flowers from your garden, bake dinner and take it to a shut-in, visit somebody in a hospice, but don't lay around all day ruminating on how much sacrifice you're having to go through to get out of debt. Find a way to circulate prosperity, because I promise you it's going to come back in so many ways that you never expect. When you give a tithe or a love offering, and you may not get it back in money, but maybe your child who hasn't spoke to you for 10 years will call you up. Maybe an old adversary will call you and ask for forgiveness. Maybe you'll just have a breakthrough in your health. Just amazing things happen when we're circulating the prosperity. All right, step 5, create an action plan for all installment and credit card debt. Just so you know what we're talking about, those nice people from the credit card companies who say, oh, we get in your minimum payment every month. We love you so much, we're increasing your line of credit. And hey, you owe $30,000, but you only need to pay $813 because we're such nice people and we know you're working hard and you're a good person. So, we're just giving you this minimum payment. If you pay the minimum payment on your credit card, it will take just under 41 years to pay off your credit card debt. 41, it's like 40 years and 7 months or 8 months, something like that. It's just indentured servitude. It's modern day slavery. It's exploitation. The interest rates are criminal. I mean, credit card companies charge more than the mob to lend money. So you need an action plan. So what you do now, you're going to do a separate list and you're going to break down all the credit cards by the percentage interest rate you pay on the debt. And you're going to do them in order of the highest interest rate first. So this one is at 33%. That's the first on the list. This one is 31%. That's the second one on the list. This is 28.3%. That's the third one. And you're going to prioritize these in order of the interest rates. All right. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to call that toll-free number on the back of every one of them and say, hey, I'm trying to organize my finances. I've been receiving offers to transfer my balance to you to other credit cards with lower interest rates. So before I do that, I would just like to know, is there any interest rate improvement you could offer me? If you have 15 credit cards and you call all 15, you will probably get a reduction on the interest rate in 14 of them or 15 of them. It's a huge amount. You don't know when they send you those checks and say, oh, in case you want to buy something with a check and you don't have your credit card, use these checks. There's a little fine print that says, if you use this check, we're going to increase your interest rate a little. If you go over your limit, they say, oh, you know, your limit was $14,000. This puts you at $14,300, but we paid the charge. There's a little fine print that says, now we can increase her interest rate. When you make a late payment, there's a little fine print that says, oh, she made her payment late. We can increase. And I'm telling you, so when you call, most even the customer service people on the phone are empowered. If you call, so, well, you know, we did raise your, 2% because you made late payments, or 2% because you used a credit advance. Like if you use a cash advance, it's another one. They increase the credit rate on. So they will lower that, and that will make it, that's just free money in terms of how much quicker you're going to become debt free. Then you have to commit to paying all new charges every month, plus the interest, plus something that lowers the debt, right? So okay, Britney Spears is coming to town and I want to get 2 concert tickets. I know Art Jonak's a huge Britney Spears fan and he goes all over the world to see her concerts, right? So if he wants to buy Britney Spears concert tickets, he's got to remember, okay, if I put that on the credit card, I'm going to have to pay that when the bill comes due. Right? Because you're not going to get out of debt if you're increasing the balance on these installment plans. We got to be lowering the balance, right? So you look, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pay off in order of those higher interest payments. Free Britney, is that what you wrote? You got to, so let's say you've got, just pick an amount, that $300 a month is the extra amount after you pay the expenses and the interest. You're going to bring down your debt by $300 a month. I want you to put that $300, all of it, toward the highest interest rate on that list, the number one on the list. Right? Other ones, we do the minimum payment, the interest, and the new thing. We do, the new charges, the payment, the interest, but whatever extra we have, we put it against the highest interest rate one. And you do that until that card is paid off. Then when the card is paid off, I want you to take your scissors and I want you to cut it in half and throw it away. But I don't want you to close the account, because having a credit card with a big balance, I'm sorry, a big credit limit that isn't being used improves your credit score. And your credit score will allow you to get lower interest rates on other purchases. But I don't want you to get tempted and use that card when Britney runs a new concert tour. So you cut it in half, and so you can't touch it. All right, but keep the account open. And then what's going to happen is, so you're going to pay them off, cut them up, pay them off, and then you get down to just a few that you keep for travel, emergencies, renting cars, the things that we need credit, buying online, the things we need credit cards for. And you just keep paying them off. And then what you're going to see is you're going to start to get these offers for balance transfers. And they're going to say, hey, Paula, you're such a sweet lady, and we read your book, and it's such an international bestseller, How to Be a Bulletproof Woman. We would like to offer you a 0% interest line of credit for the next 1 year. If you have any balance you would like to transfer from another card. So you owe $9,000 to a card that's charging you a 29% interest rate. You transfer it to the 0 one, and you cut up that card and you keep the account open. And I'm telling you, you will start to get 5 of those transfer offers a month, because they're buying your name. All those companies are buying your name. They're looking for other people. They're worse than crack dealers. They're worse than crystal meth dealers. They're just looking for people they can addict to their credit platforms, right? So they're going to start giving you these transfers, so you use their power against them. And every time you get one of those transfer things, you transfer it to another one. All right, number 6, I want you to create an action plan for your car. First of all, lose the belief that it's normal to finance a car. That's a belief doesn't serve you. Create the belief that if I want a car, I will go buy it for cash. Next, never trade in your car when you're upside down. If you owe more money than the car is worth, you cannot buy a new car yet. You've got to set that rule for yourself, because they'll do that. The dealers will do that. You have a car that you owe $23,000 on, and the blue book value is only $17,000. But they will tell you, hey, come and trade in that car. We'll take that extra money you owe. We'll put it on the new thing, and you could drive out today with a brand new car. Don't ever let yourself get exploited like that. Never trade it in upside down. Just roll with your car a year extra. Roll with your car 2 years extra. Stop trying to impress people on Instagram. You want to impress people? Get debt free. Every one of your friends and family will be so insanely jealous of you. They will pant and just hover over your Instagram account, because they're like, how did she do that? She doesn't own, her car is paid, her house is paid, she has no debt. And then consider buying an almost new car. Now, honestly, a BMW, a Lexus, any one of these really well-built automobiles have 15-year lifetimes. And there are situations, there are people buy cars on lease and they can't afford them. They get a divorce, they have to sell. They get transferred overseas, they have to sell. So there are people that, you know, when you drive a new car out of the dealership, you take such a hit on the depreciation when it goes from a new car to a used car. So there's people who have already taken that hit, and it's a 6-month-old car with 800 miles on it, or it's a 6-month car with 1,500 miles on it, and it's sold new for $44,000, and you could buy it for $32,000 as a pre-owned. And it's not like the old days where you had to worry, am I buying a lemon or not? Because we have Carfax here in the United States. Every country has a similar kind of thing that you can check a car and see the service history and all of that stuff. And they come with really good warranty programs, right? You can buy a pre-owned Lexus or BMW or something and still come with a 3, 4, 5-year warranty on the drivetrain and maintenance and all of that kind of stuff. So consider that maybe I'll never buy another new car. I will just buy an almost new car. Or I'll do that until I'm out of debt. And once I'm out of debt and I can pay cash for a new car, then okay. If it's prudent, then I'll buy a new car. All right, número 7, I want you to have an action plan for your home. Lose the belief that you should do a mortgage. Right? I mean, that's just what we're taught since kids, is that when you buy a house, you get a 30 or 40-year mortgage. I mean, that's just a belief. That belief does not really serve you, okay? Understand, if you buy a $100,000 house and you do a mortgage, you're going to pay about $400,000 for that house. You realize that? $100,000 house. Starter home, fix me up, whatever, 100 grand, it's going to cost you about $400,000 if you're doing a traditional mortgage. Next thing, don't buy with no money down. They are offering mortgages again with no money down. Don't take it. Don't buy with little money down. If you can't put down a substantial down payment, don't buy a home yet. Find an affordable place that you can rent and reduce your financial footprint, reduce your debts, get in a stronger financial position. And remember the debt to leverage versus enslave, right? Debt can enslave you, debt can empower you. So maybe instead of buying a house, you should be buying a duplex or a triplex. Like, wow, okay, instead of paying $150,000 for a house, maybe I should spend $340,000 for a triplex that has 2 other apartments that I could rent out and use that to pay down the mortgage quicker, right? Be creative. Think about that and say, is there a way to turn my debt from enslavement to empowerment? And then the last thing is, I want you to pay something extra on the principal every month. This is like what we're doing with the credit card action plan, where you pick that highest interest one. When you send in your payment for your mortgage, they apply it to the interest. So if your mortgage payment is $800, then like $760 of it goes to the interest and $40 goes to the principal, reducing it. That's why the $100,000 house costs you $400,000. So if you send in the regular mortgage payment and then $50 extra, the $50 goes to the principal, reducing it. And over the course of, well, that's one way, is just sending in some extra. And then the other thing is there's a structured program. It's called a mortgage acceleration program. And then instead of making one mortgage payment a month, you make a half mortgage payment every 2 weeks. And it pays out an extra one each year. And what you will understand, what I want you to understand, this is the money game. This is how they enslave you. You got to learn what their game is and use it against them. If you do the payment toward the principal and you do a mortgage acceleration program, you might save $60,000 or $80,000 on that mortgage. Because it's just like I tell the kids I coach in softball, right? The pitcher is trying to get you out. He wants you to hit his pitch. Your job in the batter's box is, hey, I'm going to spit on his pitch. I have to get my pitch. I have to get the pitch that I know I can square up and I can hit a smoking line drive. So I'm going to spit on all the junk he's throwing me, and I'm going to find the ball down the middle and I'm going to crush it. It's the same way with the mortgage people, the credit card people, the installment loan people. They all want you to play their game. You got to play your game. All right. So look for the mortgage acceleration program. All right. So those are the seven parts of the step. If you appreciate this broadcast and you would like to see more of them, I'm asking you to support the show. This is a for-profit prosperity ministry. I model the behavior I teach. If you go to randygage.com/go, I ask you to support the program two ways. One, if you tithe $30 a show, $40 a show. If you're saying money's tight, I can only do $1 a show, I can only do $5, great. Whatever, just show me that you support it. So there you go, randygage.com/go, PayPal, Venmo, credit, debit, however you want to do it. We have all the things. And then share the show. The replay is up every Monday on Power Prosperity Podcast, and the YouTube channel every Monday night, Prosperity TV. So please, practice the circulation laws of prosperity. All right, now your assignment is to do the actual list, right? There's no mystery this week. I gave you 7 steps. That's the pathway to getting out of debt. So the assignment is really simple. Follow the 7 steps, right? And then the other part of it is, of course, just changing your mindset and really repositioning how you feel about money, debt. What does freedom and security look like when you get out of debt? All right, the next broadcast will be Saturday, October 28th. 10 a.m. Margaritaville time, Miami, New York time, 10 a.m. on Saturday, August 28th. As you see, I spend many, many hours planning these shows. I just cannot justify the time doing that every week with the other responsibilities that I have. So I'm going to, maybe it'll be once a month, maybe it'll be twice a month. I'm not sure. I'm going to work in as best they can. But I've got a big library of content already that we've created of many shows you can watch. So that debt-free is the new sexy, says Jedi Jonax. Okay, so mark your calendar, Saturday, August 28th, and that will be the show that week. The lesson is going to be Unleash Your Prosperity. And that show's all going to be about facilitating your prosperity consciousness, opening up the size of the window that you view the world through. So you can move from that coupon-based discount, how do I save money, scrimp and save, to living in prosperity consciousness. Be waking up every morning wealthier than when you went to bed, being debt-free, and living a joyous, wonderful, prosperous life of health, happiness, and harmony. Peace. Love you guys. Have an amazing week, and I will talk to you next time.